Coming up on Vegas Nation Blitz, we take a look at recent roster moves, how the NFL is handling off-season programs, and we're joined by a Raider who is making an impact in the Las Vegas community. All of that and more coming up on Vegas Nation Blitz.
Excited to know where we're going to be playing, and excited to have a city that is excited about having us.
We are now the Las Vegas Raiders.
Welcome in, everyone, to Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your host, Cassie Soto. Well, if you can believe it or not, we are about a month removed from the 2020 NFL Draft, but the Raiders are continuing to make roster changes. So here to give us a roster update is our very own Raiders beat writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Vinny. Bonsignore. Vinny, most recently, the Raiders obviously continuing to make those moves, but picked up a veteran quarterback in Prince Amukamara. How does a veteran guy like that really help to create some space, to create some knowledge here, and a pretty young Raiders secondary?
Here's the thing. It's such a young cornerback room with the Raiders. When you think about Trayvon Mullen, their draft picks, Amik Robertson, Damon Arnett, you also have, last year's fourth-round pick, Isaiah Johnson, and Trayvon Mullen, we mentioned him as a starter last year. Those are really young players, very promising, a lot of potential. The Raiders are high hopes for all of those guys, but there's not a lot of experience. So, and especially in an offseason like this where, a lot of virtual stuff, but not any real on-field stuff yet, and we don't know when they're going to be able to get on the field. It's going to be condensed. So the hope was bringing in somebody like Prince, who could serve as a veteran mentor, somebody that can potentially bridge the gap. If Arnett is not ready to start, he could hold down that position for however long it takes until Arnett is ready to start. So, a prudent signing at a position that really needed an injection of leadership and veteran presence.
Well, how about the undrafted free agents, Vinny? Is there anyone there that really stands out to you that could make an impact on this team?
Well, the guy that I have my eye on is Dominic Everly. I know a kicker, but this guy was really impressive at Utah State. Left the Aggies program, has all the records for kickers. Was a finalist for the Lou Groza Award, which goes annually to the top kicker each year in college, and has been extremely consistent, whether you're talking about PATs or field goals, has 4 or 5 kicks of over 50 yards, in his experience. And, unfortunately, Daniel Carlson, last year's kicker, who had a really good year in 2018, stumbled down the stretch last year and in some kind of became a weakness for the Raiders and a very uncertain, player for them at a position that you need certainty. The Raiders still remain high on Daniel Carlson. The hope, I think, is that obviously he comes back strong this year, wins that job emphatically, but to be safe and on the safe side, they're bringing in Everly to create some competition. And I don't think it's just lip service. I think that there's going to be a legit competition in training camp and preseason, whatever preseason form it takes, for that job.
Yeah. All right, Vinny. Well, thank you so much for that Raiders roster update.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Well, here to give us an update on what the Raiders have been up to on social media lately is our very own social media manager, Adrian Iadarko. Adrian, let's go ahead and start with Henry Ruggs, that star wide receiver for the Raiders. How has he been keeping in shape during this pandemic?
Yeah, so Henry Ruggs posted a really cool workout video on his Instagram, and you can just see his elite quickness and athleticism that comes along with that 4.2 speed. And what I love most about this is he's not in a fancy facility. He's not in a fancy field. He's on some brown grass with weeds in it, but he's getting his work in. So I just love that mentality of I'm going to get my work in anytime, anywhere. And someone else who was excited is Derek Carr. He left a comment on his Instagram saying, "Yes, sir, let's get it." So, Derek Carr is happy to have that deep threat back in the offense.
All right, I'm sure he can't wait to get on the field with Henry Ruggs III there. Well, how about the defense now, Adrian? What are those guys saying about the upcoming season?
Yeah, so Max Crosby was on the Raiders' Instagram, and he's just excited about the primetime games. The Raiders have 4 primetime games, and 3 of them are against elite quarterbacks.
Where and when? There's going to be some awesome games. We got 4 primetime games, which is sick. So many quarterbacks that are
Crosby had that really explosive rookie year with 10 sacks, impressed a lot of people. So the Raiders D-line versus these elite quarterbacks in primetime is a matchup to watch in 2020.
All right, and finally for you here, Adrian, and maybe the most exciting thing for Raiders fans right now is the progress over at Allegiant Stadium, the future home of the Las Vegas Raiders. What can you tell us there about the progress at Allegiant Stadium?
Yeah, so they just installed the new grass into the field tray. And for those who don't know, the field tray will actually live outside of the stadium, and they'll roll in the grass before every Raiders game. And they're saying this process will take about 90 minutes. So it's a really cool, unique feature about this stadium. And the video did great on our Facebook. It's almost up to 300,000 views. So people just love seeing this. And it's just exciting to know that, the Raiders will be in town playing in that stadium soon.
That bright green, it really pops against that Raiders silver and black there. Adrian, well, thank you so much.
Exactly. No problem.
All right, fans, well, you will want to stay with us after the break because I will speak with a Raider who is doing everything he can to help the Las Vegas community during these difficult times. Stay with us. How old was Al Davis when he became the head coach of the Raiders? A, 30, B, 33, C, 36, or D, 39? Find out the answer later on in the show. Raiders fullback Alec Ingold is making the most out of his time during these uncertain times by giving back to the community he and his team will soon call home. He joins me now. Alec, thank you so much for taking some time.
Thanks, Cassie. It's good to be here.
Well, before we get into the X's and O's, Alec, I have to start with something incredible that you and a couple of your teammates recently did, and that was partnering up with 3 Square Food Bank here in Las Vegas. You guys raised enough money to supply over 30,000 meals to people here locally. Why was it so important for you to do that?
Yeah, I think just getting into the community, understanding that we're going to be here for the long haul. We want to start this relationship off right. Just being a part of the Raiders organization, we know that we want to be one with the community. So understanding that we had to reach out, ask for some help, figure out what Vegas needed in this time with all the uncertainty going on. And they said, food. Everyone needs food. So that's what we decided to do. And a bunch of my teammates, Josh, Hunter, and Foster all stepped up. And we did something cool. I think it was a good fundraiser. It was a good way just to start the relationship off on the right foot.
Yeah, well, let's get into it now. Alec, we are about a month removed, if you can believe that, from the NFL draft. Your team picked up some heavy hitters. And I just want to get your thoughts sort of on this year's draft class, what you think about your new teammates, and especially a guy like Lynn Bowden, really a hybrid player that your team picked up with the 80th overall pick, and what it'll be like suiting up next to him.
Yeah, I think Lynn has definitely impressed a lot of guys in the room already. It's really exciting to see how intelligent he is and meticulous he is about his preparation already as a rookie. I think that's the biggest thing is when guys come in, you want them to be a good culture fit, right? You want them to, take all the knowledge and take advantage of everything that we have to offer them to really hit the ground running. And he's just crushing it in meetings already, hitting things back with coach and just understanding how all the little things are going to really pay off in the long run. So it's been cool to virtually meet him, screen to screen, but no, it's really cool how he's already, introduced himself to this team and really taken all these details to heart.
Well, as far as last season goes for you, Alec, you scored your first ever NFL career touchdown week 10 versus the Chargers. What was that moment like for you being an undrafted free agent to really make your debut there?
It was awesome. I had a couple plays I wanted back right before then. So just to pick up some slack that I had left out there was huge. And then just having coaches and teammates trust you in that situation, primetime game against a conference rival. I think it was definitely a moment of understanding that you're here in the NFL, you're ready to make plays. And I think it's a big confidence booster. I think a couple times during last year that you had plays like that along the way. And that was definitely one of them. So I was very fortunate to get that call and then make the most of it for sure.
Yeah, well, speaking of making the most of it, you and Josh Jacobs, your running back, they're really working so well together. You having being able to make some really big space for him to make some big runs, creating that space for him. Do you feel like you two really set the bar high now coming into your sophomore year?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we keep each other to a high standard, a high amount of accountability. So we're definitely looking to step it up this next year. And I know he's working his tail off in Oklahoma, and I'm working my tail off here to make that happen. So I can't wait till everyone can get back together. I know me and the rest of the world, right? But we're really excited to see what this next year takes us. And you don't have that rookie asterisk anymore. It's just about playing good football and being accountable to the team and then be able to make some plays. So, we're all excited to get going, and we're definitely putting the work in right now.
Well, what is that work like for you right now, Alec? How are you keeping yourself busy? What have virtual OTAs been like for you? Is it just totally offbeat of what you're used to?
No, it's been pretty good. I mean, understanding that a lot of guys are, you have to take your notes. You have to maximize your time away from the facility, right? So we're definitely making the most of what we have on our meetings. We get 2 hours to cover as much as we can mentally. And then it's up to everybody individually to kind of get that physical work in. So just trying to hit both of those aspects as best as you can, being safe, being smart, but at the same time, really preparing for this next year it's been a challenge, but I think it's been really fun too.
Well, looking ahead to this year, the schedule is out. We know that it is a huge deal finally opening up Allegiant Stadium. What do you think about that Monday night football game? You guys hosting the Saints. How pumped are you for that game?
I'm extremely excited. One of my buddies, Zach Bond from Wisconsin, got drafted to the Saints. Just Monday night football. Allegiant Stadium is really the coming out party for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think it's going to be spectacular. It's going to feel like a Super Bowl, I swear, for everyone around the stadium. So I'm excited for, the opportunity of the fans to really showcase what the Raiders are going to be. And then, on our side of things, being able to prepare and be able to put on a show for that game on Monday Night Football is going to be really fun.
Is there any games that you have scheduled, circled on your personal calendar, any revenge games even that you might be looking to get back?
Shoot, I don't know about revenge games, but I do know that Coach Gruen always talks about the AFC West. So I think that's definitely, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, we definitely got to win those games and make the most of them. So that's definitely, those games are on my schedule, and I'm sure for a lot of other guys too.
A final one for you here, Alec. You posted something on social media the other day that made me bust out laughing. Who at EA Sports did you upset to make your character look nothing like you?
Listen, I don't really know that whole detail. I was just happy to be in the game because I did not start in the game for like the first 4 or 5 weeks. So, I figured that out. Somebody sent that to me. But hopefully this next year I can get like some facial digitized face for me. So, because that guy, I don't know what's going on there.
All right, Alec. Well, thank you so much for taking some time. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for what you're doing for the Las Vegas community.
Awesome. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Once again, that was Raiders fullback Alec Ingold. Up next, our very own Heidi Fang and Adam Hill will join us to give us some more insight on the NFL offseason program. Stay with us. The answer is B, 33. In his first season as head coach and general manager in 1963, Davis guided the Raiders to a 10-4 record and was named the AFL's Coach of the Year.
Welcome back to the Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your Vegas Nation podcast host, Heidi Fang, joined with our NFL writer, Adam Hill. We're going to talk a little bit here about what's going on at the NFL in this offseason, as it's not like any other that we've ever encountered, Adam. As of right now, Adam, the NFL has extended the virtual offseason through May, that meaning that no facilities are allowed to open. Everything is being done virtually. So what does that mean for some of these newcomers to organizations like rookies and free agents?
Yeah, it becomes a much more difficult process to try to learn the new systems and get everything implemented. Yeah, you've got your classroom work. You're doing that over Zoom calls. Everybody kind of expected this. It was supposed to be through May 15th. All they've done now is extended that to May 29th. And then we'll see what happens after that, because OTAs technically end around June 26th. That's the final day. I don't think, even though there's a little bit of optimism, I don't think anybody truly believes they're going to be actually on the field in June. So we would expect maybe this virtual OTAs to extend into that June 26th date, with these players continuing to learn just in the classroom through Zoom and really not getting the opportunity to have that rapport, to build that rapport with the players on the field, with your new teammates, with your new coaches, and really run these things that you're learning from the virtual classroom.
So when you look at all the different mix of players that the Raiders have, do you think that they're an organization that kind of falls behind when it comes to having to learn virtually right now because this team can't yet get together to try to mesh as one on the field?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think all teams are going to have trouble with their rookies, with their newcomers, their free agent signings, all the people that are new to the system. You're trying to learn all the terminology. You're also trying to just learn who your teammates are, how they play, how they react to certain situations. All those things are very difficult, and the Raiders certainly have a lot of newcomers that they're trying to work into the mix. And let's not forget, the Raiders also are moving. So they're trying to learn a new place. Like, they're trying to bond over, hey, we're all moving into this new city. We're all trying to learn what grocery store to shop at, where to get your haircut, all these things. But you don't really have that interaction with your teammates out on the field and that time in the locker room. Like, we've seen how much bonding is done in the locker room at these OTAs. They don't have that. So it's just a very weird situation for a lot of these guys.
Thank you so much for that, Adam. I appreciate all your insight there. And we're going to keep everyone here updated on how the virtual offseason programs continue. But for right now, let's check out this moment here in Raiders history. When the Raiders were established in 1960, they had all but one thing going for them. They had no home field to call their own. Plans to construct a stadium in Oakland, later known as the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, were approved and in beginning phases, but the project would not be finished until 1966. So the franchise looked to the University of California at Berkeley to play their home games. Their request was denied. Oddly enough, the Raiders would play their first games at Akers Stadium, which was the home of the San Francisco 49ers. They lost their first game September 11th, 1960 to the Houston Oilers 37-22 and finished with a 2-2 record in games played at Akers. Candlestick Park, the home of the San Francisco Giants, served as the next location for Raiders games from 1960 to 1961. They played out the last 3 home games of their inaugural season there, as well as their entire 1961 season. The team finished with a 2-12 record in 1961. Raiders owners Ed McGaw, Bob Osborne, and Wayne Valley were quoted as saying that the team would play in Oakland in 1961 or quit. Well, in 1962, the Raiders played their first game in Oakland at their temporary home, Frank Ewell Field. It was named for City Council member and undertaker Frank J. Ewell and cost $400,000 to build with a seating capacity of about 23,000, according to a Tribune article printed in November 1961. Their first regular season game at Frank Ewell Field took place on September 9th, 1962 against the New York Titans. The Raiders lost 28-17. Their first season in Oakland, the team went 1-13. The Raiders produced a record of 9 wins and 33 losses in their first 3 seasons. 1963 was their first year under new head coach Al Davis. Davis coached the team to their first winning season, producing a record of 10-4, and was later named AFL Coach of the Year. The Raiders' permanent home, which cost $25 million to make, opened on September 18, 1966. The Raiders' first home game was a 32-10 blowout loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. This would be the Raiders' home until their move to Los Angeles in 1982, and where they played again when they came back to Oakland in 1995 until 2019. But that's a story for another time. Check back here weekly on the Blitz for another edition of Raiders History.
Welcome back, everyone, to Vegas Nation Blitz. Well, the road ahead for the Raiders and Allegiant Stadium could possibly include a train track, as Virgin Trains is looking to connect Southern California and Las Vegas to bring Raiders fans in on game day. Here to tell some more about that is our very own Allegiant Stadium insider and transportation reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Mick Akers. Mick, I feel like as long as I've lived in Vegas, there have been talks about a train from Southern California to Las Vegas, but it's never come to fruition. Are things finally rolling on this guy?
Yeah, this has been in talks for over a decade now. So obviously with Brightline coming in and then bringing Virgin Trains in along the way, looks like, actually is going to happen. They got most of the funding ready to go via private activity bonds issued through California and the US DOT. So they're just waiting on Nevada to approve their $200 million, which they can leverage up to $800 million on selling bonds in the private market. So they're just waiting on that to happen. So once that occurs, all the funding's in place, and they just got to sell those bonds, which they believe they can do. They just got to do that before October 31st. So once that occurs, they can go ahead and get those stakes in the ground, and they're looking to get this thing, going construction-wise at the end of this year.
Well, what are some of the logistics here, Mick? Where would the train drop off? How many passengers can it hold? And how long would the train ride be?
Yeah, so it would be about 90-minute, ride from Victorville. So, which is, not in LA. So everyone's kind of complaining about that. So obviously it's going to serve people coming in from California to Vegas more than anything else. So it's going to run in the middle of the I-15 until it hits Nevada, and then it'll go to the east side of the 15 until it gets to the station here, where it's supposed to be at Warm Springs and Las Vegas Boulevard, not too far away from the stadium and across the street from a parking lot where you can park and ride to the stadium. So it's kind of a perfect position to be in. They had this, kind of in the works for a while, so it just ended up working out, being the right place at the right time. You can fit about 600 people in the whole train set. They're looking to begin this with about one train leaving every hour, and they're going to push that up, when it's at full use at about 25 to 35 minutes. So also talks of, having game day specific rides kind of tied to the start times and the end times of games. They kind of similar to Brightline's that service they have out there in Miami from the Miami Heat games.
When do we expect that this could be fully operational?
Yeah, so that they hope to have that going in toward the end of 2023. So obviously, it won't be right when the stadium opens. But any kind of mass transit they can have coming in from Southern California when there's a lot of Raider fan anyway. I think this will be beneficial to Las Vegas and the stadium as well.
All right, Mick, thanks so much for the update.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this week's edition of Vegas Nation Blitz. If you're looking for more information on the Raiders, head on over to vegasnation.com or download the free Vegas Nation app, where you will find videos, stories, everything you need to know. Also our podcast, Vegas Nation Podcast, hosted by our very own Heidi Fang, vegasnation.com or the Vegas Nation app. Thank you so much for watching Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your host, Cassie Soto.